Hello and welcome to Sureena Speaks, and in this video I'm going to go through what my experiences were like locuming, especially as a newly qualified pharmacist, and especially within those first few weeks and few months of locuming. So I want to be really truthful and really honest throughout this whole video, and I mean needless to say, all opinions in this video are my own and all I can talk about is my own experiences, and hopefully that will give you some idea and some guidance into what kind of route you want to go down into. So I decided that I was going to wait for my results until I submitted my documents to be put on the register. Again, that was just my own personal preference, and fortunately passed the exam, submitted my documents, and it meant that I was put on the register on September 1st. And that worked out quite nicely for me because it meant that I had just over a month to just chill for a bit and mentally prepare before I started locuming. And I think I've said it in videos before, but when I was a pre-reg, I didn't want to locum. And that was mostly because I didn't feel like I had the confidence to locum. Because I mean, it's a daunting experience going into a new place with new systems, maybe not knowing any of the people working there, and that can be quite a scary thought. But what you have to remember is that that team knows that, and so long as you're honest with them and you say, hey, you know what, I've not used this system before, and you ask them for a brief update on what their process and systems are like, they will be there to support you and guide you and help you out. And I guess that's only really something that you realise once you start working. But yeah, so for me it was mostly a confidence thing, and actually what really helped was that first month, once I was put on the register, I actually acted as a second pharmacist in my pre-reg place. So that really helped to build my confidence, and it meant that if I had any questions, I still had my tutor to go to, still ask for any help and advice. And she went on holiday for a bit, and then I then took her place while she went away on holiday. And again, it was nice knowing that actually I'm really familiar with this place, and I think familiarity is really key in actually building confidence, because I was familiar with the processes. I knew my patients inside out, I knew who was on what medicine, and if I did have any questions, I knew who I could turn to, which doctors I could speak to, which GP surgeries to liaise with, which receptionists to talk to. And again, that whole idea of familiarity really helped to build my confidence and actually think, hey, you know what, I can do this. And I'm not lying when I say, once I got my result, it really was like something just switched in my brain and was like, you know what, you can locum, you can actually do this. But as I said, I think it really helped ease me into it, being able to act as a pharmacist in my pre-reg place. Now, I know not all of you will be able to do that, but what I will say is, you passed the exam, and that's a big confidence boost in itself. So you can do it, you just need to believe in yourself that you can do it. And like I said, yes, you'll be going into a new place where you might not know anything at all, but the team know that and they will help you out, so don't worry about that. So like I said, I want to be really honest in this video, and whilst there were many benefits to being or acting as a pharmacist in my pre-reg place, the key downsides to it actually was that patients still saw me as a student. They didn't see me as a pharmacist, and especially if I was doubled up with the main pharmacist, they would still look straight past me and go straight to her. And to be honest, I don't blame them for doing that, because if I was in their position, chances are I'd probably do the same thing as well, especially if I wasn't familiar with the pharmacy world and didn't know anything about it, and I was just a patient collecting my medicines. You want to go to who you've always gone to, which I think is a fair enough judgment on their part. But at the same time, you still can't help but feel like, hey, you can come and speak to me, I kind of know what I'm talking about. So once I had done a few shifts there and everything, I felt really ready to go out into the world and actually start locuming in different places. And that's when I realised actually how hard it is to get jobs as a locum. I mean, everyone's experiences are different, and again, I stress out these are just my own experiences. But one thing I really have learned is that it's so key to make those connections with people. And the approach that I took to it was ringing around loads of different pharmacies and saying, hey, this is my name, I'm a newly qualified pharmacist, here's my contact details, get in touch if you need any cover. And whilst I thought that was me being really good at being proactive and trying to find different work, in hindsight, I actually realised that's probably not the best approach to go about doing it. Because actually, if I was the person on the other end of that phone, why would I be willing to go with some random girl who I don't know of? And yeah, she might be really good, but I don't know anything about her, when I have a whole list of other people who I know and trust and have used before. They're going to be the ones that you're going to go to first, naturally. And if you think about it, if this is, for example, your own pharmacy, when you're going to go away on holiday, or you're taking a day off, or whatever it may be, you want to make sure that you're keeping the place in trusted, capable hands. And yes, I felt like I was that trusted person, but obviously they don't know that. So actually what I would say is, yeah, I think it's still a good idea to ring around different places, but it might be an even better idea to actually go in person. Dress up, be all smartly dressed, hand in your CV, and make your connections. And it's so key to make those connections with people. And that's something that nobody told me, but you realise that as you go along. So really make those connections. And I've said it before, and I'll probably keep saying it, pharmacy is such a small world. So even if you're recommended from somebody else, which has happened to me in the past, someone's recommended me to another place, I've got a few work out of them, it's all word of mouth, but it's a good way to build up those relations with different pharmacies, with different pharmacies. So definitely make those connections. So once I had tried doing that for a while, I then decided, you know what, I'm going to go with an agency, because at least then they can find the work, and hopefully work will be a bit more regular. And that was, for me, that was the best approach to take. But what I would say is, if you do go down that route, the key word that you need to keep in mind when it comes to locuming is flexibility. You need to be flexible when it comes to traveling to different areas. So if you're someone who doesn't drive, you have to be willing to go to places by public transport. If you do drive, you have to be willing to drive out to places to get work. Which you might be comfortable with driving and traveling about, and that might be fine. But if you're someone who doesn't really want to travel about that much, that is really something that you need to keep in mind. As well as that, you need to be flexible. Like, your day-to-day might change very rapidly. So you might have thought, oh, okay, tomorrow, you know what, I'm going to take the day off. Suddenly, midday, you get a phone call saying, hey, can we book you into this store tomorrow? And I mean, by all means, take your days off, 100% definitely. But you do need to be willing to say yes to roles as well, and to be flexible in that sense. And just know that, okay, which you had planned to have a day off the next day, you might suddenly not have that day off anymore. And especially when I started with the agency, I was very much yes. I would say yes to any sort of job and role that came my way. But it did mean that I had to travel out far away to places which I hadn't heard of before. And, you know, the hours that you do are very obscure as well. And yeah, you get called up the next day, and you might have done maybe a 5-day week. You want to have that day off, and suddenly work comes your way. And I was just yes girl. So I was like, yeah, fine, I'll do that. So you're doing a 6-day week, and it can get tiring. So just bear that in mind as well. But definitely have those days off. Definitely take those days off, and don't feel guilty for saying no either. You need that rest, and you need that time off. Otherwise, you're just going to burn yourself out. But yeah, I mean, I would recommend that agency route, but also you have to really keep on top of your emails, and make sure that, because they send out mass emails to so many people, so you really have to be on your emails to be like, yep, I'll do that shift, because sometimes it is a first come first served basis. I have spoken about that a bit more in one of my previous videos, and I'll put the link up in one of these corners, so have a watch for that. Look out for that, have a watch over that, because I do go in a bit more detail about that. And I think the best thing about locuming is that you do get to learn all these different processes, all these different systems: next phase, proscript, analyst, pharmacy manager. The more systems you know, the better it is for you, especially if you are locuming. You get to meet different people every day. You get to make those different connections, meet different patients every day, come across maybe some conditions and even some medication that maybe you hadn't actually seen beforehand. It is all a learning curve. Even after you've qualified, remember you have to do your CPDs. So you are constantly and continually learning. And I think locuming is one of the best ways actually to learn and to develop your knowledge. So once I had done that for a while, I then decided that actually I wanted to be within one company, and now I work as a relief. So I'm guessing what the difference between a relief and a locum is that a locums to any and every pharmacy, whereas with a relief you're kind of exclusive to that one company. And the benefits of reliefing for me is that I get that constant work. I have my hours that I do, my set hours in a week, and there's a bit more structure and a bit more routine, which I prefer. But at the same time, I get to go out to different places. I get to work in different stores every day, every week, meet different people, again, see different conditions, see different medication. It's like getting the best out of locuming, but actually having a bit more structure and a bit more routine. So, which works out really well for me and which I prefer. So, yeah, thumbs up all round, really. And if you are interested in locuming or you have any other questions, feel free to ask me your questions. That's what I'm here for. And hopefully you found this video useful. And, you know, you have qualified now, you have passed the exams, so go for it. You have the confidence, you know you can do this, you have the knowledge there. So just go out, be brave and go and do it. And actually, once you've done those first few locum shifts, you'll get the ball rolling and actually you'll realise, hey, this isn't that as scary as I thought it would be. This is actually, I find it a lot of fun. So hopefully you find it fun too. And like I said, any questions at all, send them over my way. And if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, visit my Facebook page, visit my Twitter page, and enjoy. And good luck with locuming. So take care, guys, and hopefully see you in a pharmacy soon.